So with the same question, I would like to move to Dr. Manisha Banga, and like to ask her view and understanding of how she sees and finds Dr. Ambedkar treating or understanding or writing about the media of his own time.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, and I thank you, Anvarul, for the question. And I feel that to summarize the whole thing, and would be that Dr. Ambedkar media and his whole movement, his media and what he said through the media was a total reflection of his movement in the social and political arena, and it served the purpose. So his politics was served by the media that he started. He did not depend on the media of the then governing class to serve the purpose of his movement. So he strictly categorized, and from the outset he maintained his this particular dichotomy totally. So that was something very unique in its way. This was seen in the southern part of India through Periyar and Ayodhyadas earlier. It was seen in various forms earlier, but then the magnitude of Dr. Ambedkar's movement and the purpose that it was serving was so huge that this particular stance was in itself a revolutionary stance, and this picked this perturbed and it disturbed the existing media, dominant media at that time. And that was also one of the main reasons that he was targeted so vehemently. However, since Dr. Ambedkar's movement itself rested on two major important pillars, and that was self-reliance and self-respect. So he got this self-reliant and self-respect part totally into the media communication that he started. And that self-reliance was so thoroughgoing that he did not even bother to depend upon the so-called liberal or Gandhian media or the Swaraj media, which today can be translated into the liberal media. Today, the same media could be said that it is the carrying the legacy of the Gandhian media. So he did not even depend on that media. Of course, he was not at all dependent upon the British media, but then he was not dependent on that time's right-wing media or the liberal media. So that self-reliance is something which is totally missing right now. So if we take Dr. Ambedkar on media and then we talk about the current media culture, I would like to emphasize again on this point that the self-reliance that Dr. Ambedkar showed on his own people, on his own media, there were times when Nayak, when Janta, and other print media that he started, it stopped for almost 1 or 2 years. But during those times also, he compensated. He did not utilize the existing media, though there were so many allurements, so many exigencies of the current movement that he had to spread his word, but still he did not rely on that media. So that is a very important second point, that today's Bahujans, today's media journalism persons, whether they are from the minority community or the SC/ST OBC community or the subalterns throughout India and all over the world, should take this point into consideration. And this is a big learning lesson, I feel. Now, as regards, I really wouldn't, because before me, Professor Afroz Alam and of course Naval Kumar and Professor Vijay Kumar, they have beautifully elucidated what Dr. Ambedkar did when he wanted to start his own media. Why did he start his own media? How the existing political formulations and media formulations treated him, and how Dr. Ambedkar treated that existing media and what was his thoughts on it. So I don't have to dilate any further on this, but let me recapitulate a little bit on the structure of the program. I mean, given to me, I would have wanted to talk about the evolution of the media in India as such, the character of the media, the structure of the media, and its effect on the people and its aftermath. So when we talk about this, we take about like 2000 years of history. For all we take today's media, today's culture, media culture, and character media is a strict resonance of the media which was there before the British came in this country. Before the British came, it was the clergy and the political who were managing the propaganda. Not even the political, it was only the clergy which was managing the propaganda. And their only instructions had to be given. There were no stories of the Bahujans, of the subalterns, of the ruled, of the first to be taken forward. There was no question of them being given any voices. There was no question of any events related to them being highlighted in any given point of time. So it was dharma, it was religion and media, and it alternated between these two areas. And it was actually a basic whole. Dharma was only media and the propaganda. And then what was happening on the subaltern side was that people, whether it was Tukaramji, whether it was Kabirdas, or whether these people, these voices which we see in breaking that continuum of dharma and media, they were the ones who were demystifying something. So what were they demystifying? They were demystifying what the current media culture has already ingrained on us. That the media is some kind of a demigod, and that whatever it has to said, it has to be believed. So it doesn't want to highlight, it doesn't want to tell us that who actually are the people who are considered to be demigod and who are the people who are running the media. That is hidden. So that was exactly what was hidden then also. But at times it wasn't even hidden because there was no necessity for them to hide it, because they were demigods, they were actually gods on earth. So there was no question of hiding it. They were pretty blatant. Today there is a necessity to hide it. However, so all the subaltern voices which were coming in, they were constantly trying to demystify this superiority and the kind of sentiment which was entrenched in the public people, that these people should not be questioned. And the demystification was what was going on constantly throughout the time. Then we come to, but that was not effective. Obviously, it was not effective. It was effective only to a local area and to a certain extent. When we come down to British time, right from 1850 to 1920 or something, around that time, there were many voices which were raising themselves, whether it was in form of Ayodhya or Jyotirao Phule or Adhar movement happening over there, and of course Dr. Ambedkar and the show that these were all kind of their own media. They were handling their own media. Okay, and this is the time when the claim, the governing class, the people, the clergy and the political, when they saw now that they will have to lay their claim on the subaltern voices also. That is the time when the so-called progressive forums came up, the progress media came up, and thereafter you see the total transitioning in form of a liberal media, which was essentially the same media. Here, when we see the entrance of the economic also, earlier we had clergy and political, dharma and the media, then we have the economic as well as the dharma, as well as the political, having a total grip on the media, the propaganda. And this is what Dr. Ambedkar was trying to fight, and it was a very formidable fight that he had to fight. This was also Dr. Ambedkar's treatment from the media was also the same which Shahu Maharaj got from Kesari, which was run by Bal Gangadhar Tilak. It was exactly the same. And then what Mr. Gandhi did was again in form of liberal media, so-called, but actually was a pseudo-liberal media. That time, because people hardly knew English, he kind of could play on both the sides. He would write differently in Young India, and he would write differently in the vernacular and the Hindi vernacular, which were translated for him. There were Goenkas, there were Birlas, and there were Tatas who were supporting his media in form of money. So exactly you see the same structure and the character Brahminical, the structural being the upper caste structure. So this was again repeated during Baba Saheb's time. And today, if we say exactly the same structure, the same character, and the same dominance in front of every place in the boardroom till the place where the reporter goes and covers the story, it is exactly a mirror image of the same thing. Some things have changed in which now they have to exercise a lot of more strategy, more gimmicks, and more things to present the liberal media in after the 1950 time till date. However, it essentially remains the same, and probably maybe in the next question I might dilate on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll move to our second round of panel discussions, and in that, I would like to ask again begin with Professor Vivek Kumar, and I would like to understand his he has in his previous answer he extensively talks about the media and the role and how Ambedkar was involved in that. So taking from that, I would like to understand from him that how he like how the media of his time uh, helped him in achieving his mission, or is like a kind of question that was really media of his time helped him achieving his mission, and also the current media, how Ambedkar is portrayed by the current mainstream media, and what sort of differences you find. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, Anwar, I think actually, what earlier speakers have said, I agree with them. Uh, Only thing is that actually, I just want to add that, of course, media was not at all helpful to achieve anything. Baba Sahab ne jab Nanak Rattu se, when he complained that look how much abuse have been hurled by Hindu media on him, so that was definitely a very perceptible statement made by Baba Sahib Ambedkar, that media was not at all helping, and it was only negative. Whatever I speak, it breaks up, तोड़ मरोड़ के मेरे वाक्यों को प्रस्तुत करता है, and it gives a very wrong impression and creates a very shabby atmosphere. That was his analysis, and that's why you see he had to bring out all his 5 newspapers, and these 5 newspapers are not basically just like that in vacuum. Of course there was a need, and that is why he starts bringing out them. So I think we have to see that there was no one to help him, and therefore Baba Sahib Ambedkar had to bring out 1920s, that is Mook Nayak, then 1927, then Bahishkrit Bharat, 1928 to 29 he was talking about Samta, 1930 he was talking about Janata, and 1956. So there was at least 36 years of gap from 1920 to 1956 that he has brought out 5 newspapers. So that means he was not getting any assistance from the mainstream media as far as his movement was concerned. And I think that continues even still today. But in between, if you see, and Manisha madam will definitely throw on this light, and she knows it very well, that in 1980s, I am reminded of the Untouchable Indian. Untouchable Indians was a monthly magazine which was brought by Manavar Kashiram. And in October 1980 issue, when I see that, he was trying to argue that how media has not treated this movement and this society, and blacked out. There was a blackout. There was negative campaign, fine, but there was blackout of the real events which were taking place. The news which was given to us was when there was atrocity, and it was told to us that it is our news. Now, in atrocity on Dalits or the minorities, they are not the people actually, they are the sufferers. So how can it be their use? The news is the actor is the upper caste, or Hindutva forces are the actors. The Dalits and the minorities are the recipients. So how can you call that it's our news? And that is being actually given to us that it is our news and we are also happy. So I think that we have to understand the nature that the no news of positive achievement of the Bahujans, Mool Niwasis, minorities is being highlighted. It is basically negative news in which they are the passive recipients and they are helpless creatures. They are the people who are exploited. It is their news. It is being made that is our news. No, I'm sorry for that. And that's where uh, when Baba Sahib was calling them as Hindu press or Congress press, Manavar Kasiram called it as Manuwadi press. And I think that's why he said that, look, we have to bring out 1980s. If you see, he has told us that towards fulfilling the need of our news service, by 20th November 1990, there will be 4 monthly magazines and there will be 4 weekly magazines. These 4 weekly magazines were Bahujan Nayak Marathi, Bahujan Sangathak Hindi, Bahujan Ekta Gujarati, and Bahujan Sandesh Punjabi. These were weekly magazines, and literary monthly magazines were Shramik Sahitya Marathi, Dalit Sahitya Gujarati, and then he goes on to say that Bahujan Sahitya will be Hindi and Shoshit Sahit in Punjabi. Then 4 periodicals in Hindi, and that too he said that by 2nd National Conference of BAMSEF, we will definitely bring out. And in that, he said that in English, Economic Monthly, that is in English, Economic Monthly in Hindi also, and daily newspapers in English, daily newspapers in Hindi, and Dalit newspapers in Marathi. So that was the scheme, but he could actually bring out daily newspapers, Bahujan Times in English, Bahujan Times in Hindi, and Bahujan Times in Marathi, and Bahujan Sangathak in Hindi ran for 26 years. But later on, BAMSEF, I will say that Borkar Group and actually Manisha Madam was actually national vice president of that. They were bringing out 5 newspapers in 5 languages: Hindi, English, Marathi. Mool Nivasi Time still runs in Hindi and also in Marathi. Mool Nivasi Sangathak in Marathi, and then Mool Nivasi Andolan Gujarati, Mool Nivasi Sangram in Punjabi, and Mool Nivasi Organizer in English. So what I'm trying to argue that, look, there has been an effort on the part of the Bahujans, the backwards and the minorities, Dalits. They're not lying low, but they are making their effort. But I think this effort today, which you people are making, I think that is a very different effort. So my humble submission is that actually, what role should this media play? And if we start evaluating the role of our media, I think that will be a much more positive contribution of today. Because, in 1945, when Baba Sahib Ambedkar brought out People's Herald in Calcutta, then he said that, what is the role of the media? He said that the modern democratic media, if you say, is the real basis of good government. एक अच्छी सरकार का आधार होता है मीडिया. If media is not performing that role, then how can there be a good government? So I think a good government is co-terminus with a very, very democratic media, which I think should be our aim to run. Second thing which he said, that if People's Herald, that is type of actually newspapers, which is Bahujan newspaper, if they can give a little space for evaluating and for analyzing the character of scheduled caste MPs, MLAs, or leaders. Now, you see that there is an MP, Raj Sabha MP, who goes and who only recites poem in eulogizing a leader. This is the role of a Dalit leader, to eulogize the opposition leader in his poem, I think that's where a critical analysis of the character, it may be very difficult, challenging. I think that will show us the path that our positive contribution. The third thing which I think is that can help us really, if I am not crossing the bar, but I think that there need to be positive stories of our society. We definitely celebrate. You see that mainstream media celebrates. If a hero or heroine lessens 5 gram weight, that becomes the story. Kalpana Chawla is a story. Kamala Harris is a story. But why can't there be a story from our own people? That has to be, I think, a very challenging job if we really want to make, and therefore daily news creators, even a small little achievement is there. I think that should become the part of the Mool Nivasi, Bahujan, and the media which we are professing. Then and then only I think we will definitely counter, or we don't have to counter, rather we have to draw a line, because the psychology of our people have been made that if we really abuse the opposition, then definitely our will be having more likes, our video will be seen. But if we are talking about ideology, if we are talking about our positive heroes, positive heroines, or our own icons, our own iconography, our own movement, our positive achievement, then people don't want to see it. Why? Because they have been socialized. Their psychology have been constructed only in negativity. Negative aspects, actually, if we abuse Manua, definitely they will see it. If we abuse casteism, if we only talk about, something against communalism, they're fantastic, we will be clicked. But when we are talking about positive achievement of our movement, our icons, our drudgery, our pain, agony, then people do not like it. I think we have to contribute in changing the psychology of our people through this media. Then and then only there can be a positive agenda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
ये वीडियो अगर आपको पसंद आया हो तो इसे लाइक करें, कमेंट करें, शेयर करें और हाँ, हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें ताकि देश विदेश से जुड़ी खबरें आप मिस ना करें, क्योंकि कोरोना काल में 2 गज दूरी, मास्क है जरूरी।